Hey everyone, so today's review was recommended to me by... Oh, shoot. Who was it? Oh. Oh man, it's just on the tip of my tongue. Come on, Cecil, you know this. It just happened last week. Oh, that's right. How could I forget? That's totally silly of me. Stupid me. All right. So big shout out to Lee McCoy for the recommendation.
Oh, motherfucker.
Have you checked the children? You're a little mad sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better. You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Woflman.
And we are here to do a review of another movie that is available now to everyone for free as long as you just jump on the Tubi app.
True.
Now, that can oftentimes be a sign to stop, wait, and consider before making the jump into such a thing. However, I gotta say, this was told to me as recommended by, for real, Jason Smith from Sinister Cinema Reviews. Thank you very much for helping me with that cold open, sir. Yes, Jason told me, and a lot of other YouTubers, he was the first on this train. He's like, you guys got to watch this. This is the least Tubi movie I've seen yet. And it by God, held to be true. And after Jason told me, and after he put up his review, I saw more and more reviews going up, including Lee McCoy's review, Drum Dums going up. And so this movie had a lot of hype around it. And so I was like, okay. And everyone just kept saying, don't watch the trailer. Just go into it blind. You don't want to be spoiled. And I was like, okay, it's one of those. All right, so let's give it a try. And so we did. And I got to say, it was an entertaining ride at the very least. There are things that you can't necessarily see coming, but unfortunately, for me, some of those things didn't make sense all the time. Like they had twists that like didn't stem from realistic decisions. But that was really more in the third act. The first two acts were solid and entertaining, and I was like, oh, where's this going? And then I got a little let down by the third act. But I do have to say that this is definitely the best movie I've seen on Tubi yet, and definitely worth everyone's time to watch, especially considering Tubi is completely free. You watch a few commercials throughout the film, but it doesn't really slow the film down, and it's entertaining, and it's worth carrying through to the end. So my overall thoughts are, Lowlifes is definitely worth your time, for sure.
Yeah, and like what Cecil was saying, like this movie, it kind of came out of nowhere. But the positive reviews were just right after the other recommendation from different channels and friends. So it definitely was one of those things like, okay, well, I'm gonna check this out, because we've checked out some other Tubi originals and everything that we've been recommended and things like that, and wow, they've been some burners. They've been some burners. But this one was so refreshing. I had a lot of fun with this movie. And I'm not too big on the slasher kind of type, but this, like, it was fun. It was a fun little revamp. So basically, overall, I would say this is definitely a worthwhile check out for you guys. Again, like what Cecil was saying, is Tubi's free. If you haven't downloaded it yet, download it. It's got a ton of stuff on there, and personally, most of the time, I think it's better than Netflix, at least for some selection wise. They definitely can be. They can have some hidden gems in there. It's really fun. So basically, getting back into this is with the style of what they approached this movie. It was kind of that refreshing take that I didn't really expect. Like you were saying, there were a lot of twists in there. My biggest issue, same with what Cecil was saying, is there was a lot of conveniences towards the third act that didn't really make any sense, and just it left me kind of underwhelmed. And I was a little disappointed. Again, the beginning up the ride through, had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun with this, but I just kind of let down in the end.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the overall thoughts. The story, again, we're going to be very cagey about, but it's about a family on a RV trip across the country when they run afoul of some dangers, or, they run afoul of some apparent ne'er-do-wells early on, and then what happens subsequently after that. Sure. No spoiling, but I will say, unfortunately, knowing that this is something you don't want to know anything about going into it, early on, very early on, I leaned over to Robert and I was like, okay, what if it's this? And then it happened, it was that. And I was like, okay. I mean, they don't really hide it, and if you're looking for a twist, you can see the twist coming. But it's all in the execution, right?
It is.
And so how the story unfolded and how it was executed was definitely entertaining. I will say it had flavors of Robert Rodriguez, it had flavors of Quentin Tarantino, and it had flavors of like You're Next. So there's a little bit of a lot in here, but it's all done well and clearly on a low budget, but interestingly presented cinematography wise and stuff, which we can get into further down the line. But story wise, I was very entertained. Even if, again, some decisions in the third act made no sense to me. Overall, the story was pleasing for me.
It was. The story was, again, like I said, it was fun. It was kind of refreshing. The pacing I did enjoy. I still felt it could have been trimmed down that little bit. And, again, going back to the third act kind of was the weak point of it, personally. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, because I still had a lot of fun with this movie, and I would still recommend it for people. Yeah, it does have its weak points. Yeah, that's fair. But here's the thing, though, is like with this story, and we're kind of touching on a little bit of acting.
Yeah, get into the acting.
But your actors are also only as good as your writing, so
they can only do so much.
Exactly, they can really only do so much. But the cast that they assembled for this film played their roles perfectly. Yeah. At one point, I had mentioned over Cecil. There's one point with the brother, and he just has one of those faces, where you're just like, you could get a 2x4. He just has one of those. He
was punchable.
He was definitely punchable. Okay. It's definitely a punchable face. But like the sister mom, the dad dynamic, it felt very natural. And when it got into the rough of the stuff.
The rough of the stuff. I like it.
The rough of the stuff. You really start seeing that suburban darkness. We'll call it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just because, again, you don't want to give anything away, because there's major plot points for the story that would be a spoiler.
So filmmaking wise, though, again, they made interesting choices. It wasn't your standard coverage. Wides, mediums, close-ups. They did interesting things with the camera at times, and I will applaud them for that. I will say that it had a style to it, but I wouldn't say it's a style I could necessarily identify as much as it being a mishmash of other things that I've seen.
That's
but it's not a denigration. It's just to say that the style was a mishmash of other things. It didn't always jive from scene to scene, but each scene was at least interesting to watch for the decisions they made cinematography-wise.
No, that's true. There were a couple scenes where they felt kind of quick cuts. That didn't really...
That's probably more editing, but yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Realistically, I don't have much to, I guess, touch on that aspect.
Okay, fair enough.
Because
we'll get into the editing then. Yeah. So you think there was some choppiness?
Yeah. So more so on my thing was there was a couple editing parts where I felt that some key dramatic scenes could have flown a little bit better
Flowed
together.
Better, yeah.
Flowed better,
yeah.
Yes.
No, I hear you. And I could agree with you on that.
Yeah. But again, not saying that they were necessarily bad. They were just still a little rough. There were some
awkward angle-to-angle decisions sometimes.
There was. Yeah. There definitely was. Like, you almost kind of, like, I saw
how... You feel like, there's an awkward cut, but but it's okay. You're still in it enough. But it brings you out enough to go, that's an awkward cut. And, so it's not great, but it happens.
Yeah, because there was just a couple abrupt. We're done.
Fair.
But other than that, I had fun. It was good.
And let's talk about the effects. Right?
Oh, yes. This was the highlight of
the
this
highlight
movie.
of the film were the effects. Lots of practical goodness. There was one decision that was made in the third act with a character that had to do with an effect where, you know, there's an extraction and then a re-internalization that was, I was like, what the, okay, well, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
You know, so that was interesting at least. So they utilized the practical effects to a very positive point. You know what I mean? It was really interesting, and it all served the story well.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like a lot of times with these types of movies, they go very heavy with the gore, and it doesn't always serve for the story.
Right.
It's just there to be there as a shock factor. The nice thing with this is all of the gore, mayhem and stuff that happens, and all the shenanigans is it serves it very well, and it gets you, like, again, the scene that you were talking about, like the retaking of one part.
Yeah.
I even was just like.
You were. You don't get squeamish often, but you were just like,
Yeah.
I heard you audibly make a noise.
It just got me and everything.
Yeah.
Because,
it happened so fast. You're like, damn.
Yeah.
Right.
I was not expecting it because, again, like, I saw that coming.
Yeah.
And everything, that the scenario of what played out.
Right.
But what followed in suit next, I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a high compliment. For people that have been watching horror as long as we have, the fact that this movie could still throw surprises at you throughout the film, I think that's a big feather in its cap.
Absolutely.
You know, so even though there are weak points in the film that perhaps some people might think we're harping on too much, honestly, the only reason we're spending time on it is because they did everything else very well. And so, I mean, I think that overall, it was a very effective film and unique in the space, in so much as while it
had its normal tropes that it reused.
While zigging when you think they're going to zag is not new, they did it well.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They drifted around the corners pretty nicely.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes.
And again, thank you to Jason Smith for the recommendation. This was definitely a good one. And definitely, you guys, it's Tubi. It's free. Go watch it. It's called Lowlifes. Yeah. And it's very much worth your time. And we'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below once you've actually taken a look. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Woflman.
And remember, stay scared.